the stiff truth. Okay. Welcome to your stiff truth, my stiff truth, our stiff truth, the stiff truth.
Everybody's stiff truth.
It's so stiff. I'm here with Scott Casanova and Bob West, and we are excited. Can you believe it? This is our 50th show, Scott.
Woo!
They let us on the airwaves for 50 shows. I know who they are. We produce our own show.
Exciting stuff.
They are we, and we are they.
Yes.
How you doing, man? Are you staying warm? Seems cold.
It's colder than a witch's titty, I believe the saying is. But yeah, it's quite frigid here in Colorado. I don't know about you guys, man, but I think you guys got starting to get that cold front in yesterday. We've had it for a couple of days now, but yeah, it was a lovely -8 degrees in the evening last night, all through the night up until this morning around, I want to say 9 or 10 a.m. before it warmed up to what it says on my phone, Bob, is -0, less than 0, but not -1. Apparently, it's in between right now.
Is -0 a thing?
My phone says so, and I don't. I guess I gotta believe what's going on my phone. But yeah, it's colder than shit.
Maybe they're getting into like adjectives. They're like, if it's 0, shit's negative. I don't care what it says on the number scale of whole number positivity. But I'm looking now. It's a balmy 18 degrees outside currently.
You know what? That's it's all relative, buddy, because I would take 18 up here right now because Jesus. Let me look again here. It's 12:10 in the PM, and it is 1 degree. 1 degree, sir. So yeah, warming up a little bit. Had a little scare this morning, some frozen pipes. But we cleaned the pipes. You know what I mean? Huh?
I'm glad you got those pipes clean.
Yes, sir. And I feel a lot better too. Once the pipes are clean, a lot of stress, a lot of release. You know what I mean? A better mood. My T cells actually jumped up this morning too, and my immune system's having a little bit of a boost as well. Things are going well, my friends. So, you know, when life gives you lemons, shoot a load all over. Yes, exactly. When life gives you lemons, squirt them all over your partner's face. It's Valentine's Day. Woo!
It took me 3 days to get that out. So
be grateful.
Yeah, it's pretty cold, and it looks like a lot of the cold cities have shifted their focus from COVID deaths to now, preventing bumsicles. So
bumsicles, Jesus Christ. Oh my God.
Temperatures like this are obviously pretty discouraging if you're homeless.
Jesus Christ, Bob. I don't know why that's so funny to me. We're going to hell. But goddamn. Hey,
at least all of our friends will be there. Both of them.
This is true. Well, hey, redirecting again real quick. 50th show. Woo! Party. Yay for us. Anyways. Well, you know what? Let's just go ahead and talk about what I know you're going to gloat about anyways. You called it. Brady got his 7th ring. I don't know about you, Bob, but I know about you. You actually you're happy about it. I was a little upset about it, but then I did realize, how can I possibly be upset at this man any longer? Anything that I could possibly say, Bob, like, oh, deflate gate. Oh, he cheated. Belichick cheated. They were listening to, the guys were listening to the other teams, like call plays on the sideline. All this shit that's happened over the years still does not negate the fact that he now has 7 rings. And I think we both knew it last week, right? We both knew. I wanted the Chiefs to win. I know I was being very optimistic, but I even said, if I was a betting man, I can't really bet against Brady in the fucking Super Bowl. And he did it again. Is this guy not undeniably just like the best fucking professional sports star of all time now? I mean, a lot of people I see a lot of memes now, like comparing him and Jordan, rightfully so. Jordan has 6 titles. He has 7.
I would say, as far as athlete goes, there's not even a comparison, right? But it's not about athlete. It's about being a leader. It's about guiding your team to the pinnacle of your sport. And he's got 7 rings.
Jesus Christ.
As far as that's concerned, he's Jordan's in the rearview mirror for Mr. Brady, right? He is now staring down Bill Russell. I mean,
Well,
that's where he's gone with things. I think Bill Russell has like 10 or 11 NBA championships. So 7 is incredible. And the interesting thing about that makes it so daunting is when Bill Russell did it, I want to say there was only like 12 or 16 teams in the NBA.
yeah.
When Brady did it, there's 32 teams in the NFL. So he's managed to go to the Super Bowl. How many times now?
Brady 10 times, right?
He's been to the Super Bowl 10 times, right? He's been to the AFC Championship like 18 times or something, right?
Something like that. Wait, hold on. He's lost 2 times, both to Eli Manning, right?
He also lost to Philly. He's lost 3.
Okay, I had to remember because okay, that makes sense. So he was 10 Super Bowls. He's won 7. He's got a 70% chance of winning the Super Bowl when he gets there. Jesus Christ. Anyways, continue, Bob.
So yeah, I think what he's doing is really it's an all-time thing that'll never be broken. We'll never see something like this again because there's only going to be more expansion teams. There's only going to be more competition. You're just not going to see it. I mean, maybe we will. I don't know. Maybe some quarterback like Mahomes or someone will play till he's 50. But the way that guy runs for his life and gets tagged, he'd be lucky to play till he's 40.
I will say this though, and he's, I hate to say that he's probably got the longevity potential to do this. Most championships by a professional sports player though is Yogi Berra for the Yankees. He's got 13 rings, 13 World Series. So again, Tom's at 7. He's already more than halfway there, and he's only a young, spry 43, 44 in August. So he could make it. But maybe that's a title that can't be beaten. But then you're comparing apples and oranges, kind of honestly like NBA and comparing NFL. You can't really compare these and say, oh, 6 and 7, he's better because he's got 7. I think it's just too hard to compare sports like that.
Well, that in the NBA, there's only 5 people on the court at one time. So one person is very impactful to the game. Where in football, you have, 11 people at once out there. So that's kind of another impressive feat is that he's leading his team so positively, and he's just incredible. He's an incredible leader. Obviously, he's talented, but it's just been crazy. It's been crazy to watch all this go down. I remember when he first got into the league, Drew Bledsoe was the quarterback. Bill Parcells was their coach.
I remember
New England at the time, right? And they were going to the playoffs, and Drew Bledsoe got a concussion like the last couple of weeks of the season. And Tom Brady came in and finished I think it was just like the last game or two. And then they went to the playoffs, and Brady they were winning and they were doing well. So Bill Parcells let the hot hand ride, and they won a Super Bowl that year. Right. So, and that's just kind of it. So ever since then, the statue of offense, AKA, Drew Bledsoe, lost his job to Tom Brady, and the rest is literally history. So it's a shame that Bill Parcells left, though. He really could have added on to that Super Bowl title, just kind of hanging out, riding Brady's coattails the way Belichick did.
Yeah, and I think that's a big eye opener. That I don't know if we discussed that or not. I think we might have touched on it a little bit last week, but I think I think a large part of Belichick's legacy is gone now with the realization that it really wasn't the Belichick mastery coaching that let's just face it. I'm sure again, he's a great coach, but look what happens when you actually lose the leader of your team and who's really orchestrating stuff on the field. You go 7-9. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I want to point out too about New England. For so long we heard Belichick's mastery, right? Belichick's coaching decisions, Belichick's this, Belichick's that. Belichick's an asshole, but that's okay because it's, quote, the Patriot way. Turns out Tom Brady was just winning a bunch of Super Bowls and Bill Belichick was just an asshole.
Yeah. Which honestly makes me feel a lot better. I'd rather give respect to Tom Brady now that he's proven that I should, right? Not like, again, you remove him from New England, the facade of the mastery of Belichick is now gone, and he's shown that he's the true GOAT in that sense. And I've always thought Belichick was an asshole. So this makes me feel good about myself. I feel vindicated to a certain extent. And I'll tell you this, Gronk there. What a for a really not very educated, well, I wouldn't say educated. I'm sure he's educated, just not a very bright guy, maybe not a high level of emotional intelligence kind of guy. He really made a fucking smart decision to get back in the game, huh? He's like, hey, fuck you, Sports Center, ESPN, or whatever, whoever he started working for. I'm going to play for the Bucks because I got a feeling I'm riding all the way to the Lombardi Trophy again. And he was right. Did you see the picture of them both drunk in Tampa Bay, tossing the Lombardi Trophy from boat to boat? That's pretty good, dude.
It was actually Cameron Brate that caught that.
Ah, was it?
The other tight end.
The other tight end. Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, Gronk and Brady are, it's just unstoppable. I mean, even with Gronk's body beaten up the way that it was, I think taking that year off of football and healing and getting back, and then it really did take him like all season long to get back into football shape. He didn't start looking like himself until, the playoffs. And then in the Super Bowl, what a great game. What a great game. Gronk just had his way with Tampa Bay. And it was just insane. That touchdown pass that he caught, he right at the end of the first half, right? Gronk broke that DB's ankles on that last minute move. And Tom Brady was just waiting for him to pick a spot. And then as soon as he saw that he picked it, he zinged it in there. And then that was that. But if you watch the replay, he had that DB guessing, and he went the total other way, and then Gronk cut to the goalpost, and there was like 5 to 10 yards of separation at that point.
He could have walked it in. He could have walked it in, which was kind of. I have to give Kansas City some credit there. I wouldn't have thought going into this game. I honestly wouldn't have. Retrospectively, of course, everybody will say this, but I wouldn't say, "Hey, make sure you guys double Gronkowski." I just wouldn't have thought that. There's too many other high-powered offensive people that you have to worry about with Godwin's, Evans, Fournette, even, I just wouldn't think out of the gate that Gronk was going to be the guy that would have 2 touchdowns by like the end of the first half. Fucking nuts.
And was it just me, or at the end of the first half when they scored that field goal, Kansas City scored that field goal, and it was like a 9-point game or something like that at that point. I think it was 14-6.
Yeah.
And then there was about a minute and a half, 2 minutes left or something like that. You could just like feel it at that point. Like, oh, y'all are about to get Brady'd right now. Mm-hmm. And then when he Brady's you going into the second half with 3 touchdowns in the first, this game is over. And sure enough, man, Brady marches right down the field. Yeah, there was a questionable call there with the pass interference or whatever, but there's calls. Football has calls. I mean, that's just how football is.
Here's one thing I will say. You can argue, because there was some pretty ticky-tacky calls. I'd say there's 2 pass interference calls that, quite frankly, let them fucking play kind of calls. It was very incidental stuff, very ticky-tacky. You can argue that at the first half. I was actually saying that. I was like, what the fuck is going on? I think that should be a no call for sure. Let these guys fucking play. That was not really. It wasn't blatant, bro. But then as you get into the second half, there were still people I could see on social media complaining at the refs. Oh my God. I was like, dude, you can't say that anymore. Like, even if those calls would have went the other way, Tampa is fucking destroying Kansas City right now. And God bless the kid. One thing that Mahomes showed us is, dude, super, super athletic. I mean, he was literally getting throws off while he was falling and fucking like basically horizontal to the ground and still making complete passes or near complete passes down the field, like magical type kind of throws.
Yeah, like the one where he spun off his back foot, falling down, getting tackled, and he throws it and it almost hits the back pylon. And the dude tries to one-hand catch it.
It was nearly like Yeah, it was nearly a miraculous catch. I mean, literally, there was one that Tyreek Hill dropped. That was another great one where he should have had it. So say what you will, it's not necessarily that Kansas City shit the bed in any way, shape, or form. On offense, they were doing what they could, but they were giving him no time. He did everything he could. In fact, I think Mahomes earned his paycheck in that game, just showing you, look what I can still do by myself with zero help. You know what I mean?
You know that Pat Mahomes only lost 2 playoff games in his career?
Yeah.
Both to Brady.
Yeah. No, he's got a thing with Brady too. I think even playing him in the regular season, he's lost to him usually.
He's not the only one. Ask Peyton Manning how fun those quarterback duels are against Tom Brady in the playoffs. They're not fun. They're not. Tom Brady is mythical in the playoffs. It's insane.
And you know, and Manning has beat him a couple of times too. You know, I mean, you know, which is incredibly hard to do. Pat Mahomes he's going to get a huge chip on his shoulder, and rightfully so. Next year when he beats him, I'm just going to have to say whenever he beats him, you know, he may beat him next year. Do they? I don't even know if they've released this. I'm sure they haven't, but maybe Tampa will get to play Kansas City during the regular season. You know, they got to give him some at bats.
Teams play like opening weekend.
They usually do. They
right in the Hall of Fame game, so they'll probably play right away. But yeah, I mean, Tom Brady's only got another year or so left, and he'll be gone. Even if not, he said 45. It's been clear that his wife already wants him to retire. So either he retires after this next season or the season after. And then it's smooth sailing for Pat Mahomes, right? His only competition at that point is probably going to be the Bills. I mean, in the AFC.
Honestly, because a couple more years from now, I probably think that Rodgers is going to retire too.
Well, I guess I can't discredit the Browns either. They'll probably be in the mix too for several years. So, but there's a handful of teams that'll kind of take the baton right in the AFC once Tom Brady finally allows this to happen.
I'm going to step down now and let other teams compete. You know, honestly, I hear what you're saying. He's like, I'm going to retire when I'm 45. How many more fingers does he have available for rings? Because I think that's probably a better.
Think he wants to roll up to like the Jimmy Fallon Tonight Show or whatever? Just him and Gronk.
He only needs 3 more rings to have all of his fingers lit up, right? So, and if he just wanted 4, all 4, just left his thumbs off, he just needs 1 more. Jesus Christ.
That guy could land a plane with his Super Bowl rings.
Ridiculous. What a strange thing. No. Oh my. Well, you know, football's over though. Now we got to wait. What is it? Now we've got a action-packed, I want to say 5-6 months of NASCAR and golf on Sundays. So there's that.
NBA's going, man. NBA's going.
That's true. It's not always like a Sunday thing though. But hey, the Daytona 500's today. Just so you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize. I do know it's always right after the Super Bowl, so I should have realized that.
There's actually 30,000 people that are in the stands today, which is a ghost town compared to its usual over 100,000. But still, sounds like a potential super spreader down there in Florida.
They're chock full of those. It's just how they roll.
It's like super spreaders. This don't happen anymore down here. We've got herd immunity in the whole state.
Sorry, Florida. We love you.
We really do. We really do.
We know that we have listeners down there. Regular devoted fans. So
yeah, wow.
It's just weird shit happens in Florida. I don't know what to say.
It really does, man. You know what? Let's just bust right into it too. I ain't got a clever, cute little transition.
Like the Kool-Aid man. Oh yeah.
let's bust right into the impeachment here, Bob. I think I mean we just got word. I think what was it yesterday? Yesterday, obviously, Trump was acquitted. He had his second acquittal now. But Bob, what do you think about this whole scenario here? We got to just lay it out here. Give it some stiff truth.
Well, we talked a little bit last week about how the impeachment's a formality. That there's like no fucking way they're going to get 2/3 of the Senate to convict. Right. So do I think that the Democrats laid out a case strong enough that deserved it? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they did a great job of laying that case out. Some of the facts that came out, like specifically with his conversation with Mike McCarthy, right? That's a pretty fucked up conversation to have.
Mike McCarthy or Kevin McCarthy?
Kevin McCarthy, sorry.
I was like the ex coach of
Cowboys coach? Yes.
Yeah, I was like, that is strange. Sorry, go ahead.
So Kevin McCarthy, right? So for those that don't know, when the Capitol's being entered and breached, right? Kevin McCarthy, he's the At the time, he was the majority leader of the House. No, the minority leader of the House. So I guess he still is, right? So
Yeah, I think
anyway,
he
that
is.
just means that the Democrats have the majority, Republicans have minority, but out of that minority, he is the top, congressman for the House. So I got to give those civic lessons. So anyway, so
Always.
he calls Trump and he's just like, "Hey, you should probably call the National Guard. I mean, they're coming in here. It's getting dangerous." And then he tells him something along the lines, paraphrasing here. Huh. Well, Kevin, I guess those protesters care more about me losing the election than you do. And so Kevin McCarthy's response was, "Who the fuck do you think you're talking to?" Wow. That's how much respect the GOP in government truly has for Trump. Right? When one of the GOP leaders, there's only two, right? There's two GOP leaders, and one of them spoke to Trump like you would expect Trump to speak to him, right?
Good for him.
He's running this show. Who the fuck do you think you are? Which is very interesting to see that dynamic, but also it displayed like his attitude towards the whole thing. Like normally, if people don't mean to do something bad has happened, they're like, "Oh shit, I'm sorry, I did not mean for this to happen," and they try to rectify it right away. But that proved that there was more intent and purpose behind what was going on. So none of us really knew about that until the very end of the impeachment, because this isn't exactly like widespread news. I guess someone did report on the phone call like 2 days after, but it wasn't like a big deal, right? But so that was an interesting thing. And then of course they voted to acquit. It's almost impossible to impeach someone, just like it's almost impossible to pass bipartisan legislation.
It's nearly impossible unless everybody in the Senate is the party that wants to impeach. Like everybody, like literally there'd have to be 0 Republican senators for it to be like you could see it. You could see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, we can win this. We know we can. But yeah, if it's kind of mixed like it is, it's nearly 50-50 right now, right? I mean, it is technically 50-50.
Yeah, it is 50-50 right now.
It's 50-50. So, and I think what did they snag? 7 out of the,
they did have 7, which was unprecedented. That's a huge number of opposing party convictions.
But they needed 17 or 16, something like that.
Yeah,
16,
they needed
17?
67, and they got 7 Republican votes. Obviously, every single Democrat voted for it, but they didn't get any the majority that they needed. So the interesting thing about that is people of the same party of the president during an impeachment don't vote for a conviction and convicting their own party's president. It just doesn't happen. Mitt Romney doing it in 2019 was the first time it had ever happened. And then now they went up from 1 to 7. So I think that in itself, overall, the impeachments throughout the history of America, that's really telling of kind of the shift of how Republicans are starting to view Trump in general. Don't get me wrong, they're still terrified of losing the base.
Yeah.
But again, like we've said, don't be. They're not going to vote for AOC. So they're going to be okay here.
I'm not sure how much we talked about this on the show. I think we talked about it just you and I, but I mean, yeah, if Trump's base doesn't like other politicians that are shitting on Trump or stabbing him in the back, what are they really going to do? Like you were just saying, these are not the type of people that are going to vote progressive in any way, shape, or form. They're going to have a shit kind of in their cereal frown on their face for a while, and then they're going to vote Republican again, whoever is there. They really don't have a choice.
Yeah, they'll bitch and complain about it, but when they actually get into the ballot and the friends aren't there to talk shit to, they'll vote the party line. I mean, that's just how it's going to go.
That's what they do.
So yeah, the impeachment was all done. So there's a couple of interesting things for the fallout of that. Afterwards, the leaders of the Senate speak, right? So Chuck Schumer spoke just in general about, Chuck Schumer things, saying
Chuck Schumer thing.
We proved our case here. I'm really proud of the managers that handled this case and presented the facts, and I think they did a really good job. Yada 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 yada. Okay, so here comes Mitch McConnell.
Oh, they're old Mitchie, baby.
So Mitch McConnell gets up there and says, "There is no doubt that Trump is morally and physically responsible for the events of the day on January 6th. He is absolutely to blame." right after he voted to quit him, right? He goes and he says he's absolutely to blame. But then he goes even farther and says that we should not be impeaching a citizen that is no longer in office, right? Which is, there's plenty to say about that since he's literally the one that delayed the trial until after he wasn't in office. But beyond all of that, so then he said, we have a Department of Justice to get justice for things like this from our citizens, directly inferring that Trump should be liable for criminal liabilities.
But just
because
not on the Senate floor. He's like,
the
we're not going to
impeachment's not
handle
a criminal trial.
Yeah, we're not going to handle it here. Please go handle that in what's our favorite district in New York that just gets everybody?
Oh, that's the Southern District.
Baby, let's get him in there.
Well, he's already in there. They're already looking at him for tax fraud, bank fraud, wire transfer fraud, all this stuff from inflating his asset values to get loans and deflating his asset values to get tax breaks. I mean, he's already that's the thing that Cohen, his lawyer, squealed about when he went to testify in Congress. He ratted on him. In fact, Trump even called him a rat. Like a mob boss. So anyway, from that moment on, the Southern District of New York was like, really? Do you have proof of that? And they've been looking at the Trump Foundation for 2 years now. So he's already facing that. And Georgia's now looking into tacking on felony, like voter tampering charges for all 3 or 4 of the people that Trump personally called to try to overturn the election in Georgia, right? So he called the governor. So that would be one count that they're looking at. He called the
Attorney General, right?
The Secretary of State.
I thought Attorney General, but
maybe the Attorney General. I think he called 3 or 4 people, including the guy that heads up investigations of voter fraud for their state.
I love that.
And
he says dialing random people on the phone, but find the fraud. I don't care. Find it. It's like, it's fine.
Right. So, I mean, usually soliciting voter fraud is a crime in most states. So they're looking at him for like 3 or 4 felonies there, which, he can probably get out of, probably get probation or whatever. But that's really indefensible when you're trying to run for office again and someone has that to throw at you and run ads on and spend $1 billion running ads against you, because we know he's probably going to run again for something.
Well, I'll say this. I don't think he's going to get any type of office moving forward. I just don't think it's going to happen. I just don't think so. But what is pretty interesting, though, too, is I don't think he's going to face any really repercussions from any other court with just the money and the legal team that he has. I think again, we talked about it. He's going to pay his way out of trouble, like all over the place, and hang out playing golf down in Florida.
Yeah, he'll get the best legal representation that he's not going to pay for, and then he'll just appeal the cases until he's dead. I mean,
yeah,
he's not exactly the pinnacle of shape, right? He's not The Rock up there. So I mean, he's got what? He's 75. I mean, if that dude makes it another 10 years, I think that would be an amazing feat for someone in his physical condition.
And he can literally have this stuff tied up for another 10 years easy with his legal team. I will say this, though. I don't know if you caught it, but going back to the actual impeachment, I didn't watch a lot of his defense team present on, was it Thursday or Friday? I can't remember.
It was Friday.
No, it was Friday. But I did watch the closing arguments by, what's his name? I was like, this guy is slick. Michael, yes, Vanderveen. Did you see Mr. Vanderveen up there?
I did. I saw them both.
I tell you what, say what you will. Guy was pretty good. He was pretty good on his closing remarks. And I love how he literally was like telling the senators how to do their jobs, like in the closing arguments. I was like, oh, did he just do that? My goodness. And then he takes like his glasses off to make a really big point. And I was like, well, this guy's pretty slick. I can see why Trump hired him. But just watching that though there and kind of seeing the House managers present their case, like you said, it was a dog and pony show. It was kind of just like a formality, like you said. And it was so fucking apparent to me that nothing was coming of it. Actually watching the closing arguments, because again, the biggest thing for me, and I was like, well, this is where it's just going to get murky and they can keep making it, very unclear. You can't directly tie this to Trump. You can loosely tie it to him, but the direct correlation, like him, exact catalyst for everything that happened wrong, they were just not going to be able to do it. Especially when it came down to like his words that he used, the rhetoric that he used. When you say, we got to fight, they kept going off of the word fight and that verb, right? But it's a very, very common narrative type language for every politician to say fight, like fight for your freedom, fight for your rights, fight for this, fight for whatever. So it seemed like a lot of what the House managers were doing were appealing to emotion and really driving that home. And then the Trump team, more of technicality, and more of the law, the land, and what's written in the text. And it was really, really hard for them to do much besides get really, really emotional based. And then when it was Trump's attorney's turn, just driving home the technicalities again. And it was kind of like, this is not going anywhere. You can already tell. I mean, even if you didn't know that this wasn't going to happen and you thought maybe, and you had no idea the partisan makeup of Congress and you're like, oh, this looks like it's not going anywhere. It wouldn't go anywhere in any court is what I'm trying to say.
I can say this. If there was a secret vote where no one could see who voted for what, I think Trump would get impeached. Like he'd have been found guilty. But since everyone can see, that's what I think. But and even then, 7 Republicans is a lot. I mean, that's almost halfway there to what they needed to as far as Republicans go. So that's a lot. And there was a couple of surprises there for who voted, like the senator from Louisiana and the senator from North Carolina. Yeah. That was unexpected. Romney, we already know. Romney doesn't have much passion for Trump. No. And Trump doesn't like Romney. The two swing senators, the one from Maine and the one from Alaska.
Susan Collins was one, right?
Susan Collins and Murkowski, right?
Yeah.
You pretty much knew that they were going to do that. They have to appeal to the Democrats in their state because their states are pretty evenly divided. Yeah. So other than that, it was pretty much business as usual. But again, I was impressed with the 7 votes. I felt like that was a ton of Republicans that were willing to go on the record and say that against Trump. Interesting thing too was it's just been the fallout from the separation of Trump. Obviously, Mitch McConnell has clearly separated from Trump at this point.
Oh, he's trying to
guide the party away from Trump.
Yeah, it's turtle time, so to speak, and he's leading the charge.
Yeah. No, he wants the future to be a Trumpless Republican Party, and I think the majority of the country's in the same boat. That I think the country's better off if Trump is not in politics. People can't handle it. They just can't handle it.
Dare I say this? That I guess technically, even with and this insurrection, Trump is not really the dangerous part here. It's the people that follow him and suck his cock. Those are the dangerous people. And that's why he literally can't be in politics, because we have too many of those people in our country. We've already seen it. We've seen what happens.
Yeah. And then there's 2024 Republican hopeful Nikki Haley, right? She has made a clear leap back from Trump, saying that we supported him for 4 years and this is what happened. We shouldn't have followed him. No. And saying like he betrayed us. They're not friends anymore. Well, she has decided to also make that calculation to move away.
Well, Trump's honestly made it very, very apparent that he's not really playing fair anyways. You know what I mean? In the sense where he doesn't really have friends in politics. It's either, hey, you support me blindly, no matter what the fuck I do, you have to keep supporting me. If not, then you just turned against me and everybody in the country, and I'm going to make sure everybody knows about it. He's not pulling any punches there. So I don't know, man. At this point, I'm really happy just to let's move the fuck on, right? Okay, we did this, had to be done. Let's move the fuck on, because one of the complaints that I heard from the right that I do agree with to a certain extent is, hey, before we start spending all of our time trying to convict Trump again, this for the second time, maybe we should focus on the pandemic and getting shots in arms of people across the country. I think it's a little bit more pressing right now than making sure Trump can't run for office in 2 to 4 years. I think right now and that's why I'm saying let's just move the fuck on. It's like, okay, cool, acquitted. Yeah, everybody complain. All right, bye Trump. Go play fucking golf in Florida, and let's focus now on fucking getting the pandemic under control, which should be priority number one right now anyway. So I'm happy we're here again. I'm hoping we're here.
Yeah, and it was a pretty quick trial. I think most of the Senate also agrees with that. That's why there was no witnesses called, not a single witness called, right? Because it's not going to sway any voters. Like the Democrats knew there was no way in hell they're going to get a conviction out of this. So I think their job was more of we're going to get Trump convicted in the court of public opinion. We're going to get all those facts out there so that people can at least have all of the information that we're presenting so that they can see just how culpable he really was in all of this.
Sure.
So I think that was the important thing then that they had to do, but also it was the formality. We have to impeach this guy. You can't just set the stage for the last 3 weeks of office that people can run amok. So that would be bad. Someone next time will know that going in, and if they have control of the Senate, they will fucking do something worse.
You know what's eye-opening too is I don't believe, and obviously I haven't been around, I haven't been alive for a few hundred years to really put my finger on this, but I don't think there's ever been kind of anybody as they were on their way out of office, because most people are quite presidential and professional about things when they take that office.
It's kind of a prestigious job.
Yeah, kind of, right? I mean, it's kind of been dulled down a little bit in the past 4 years, but I don't think there's ever been a concern that anybody was going to run amok in their last few weeks because they thought, oh, well, they can't impeach me because I'll be out of office. It's never crossed anybody's mind until now, which is interesting to me because it's like we have to worry about it moving forward. I'm hoping we don't. I'm hoping from now on we can literally go back to being very professional and respectful and have a peaceful transition of power like we have for the past couple hundred years. I don't know. That's just me.
Okay. I'm also going to call it here. You heard it here first, folks.
Here we go.
The Democrats will invoke the 14th Amendment and bar him from running for office.
Yeah.
They're going to call him an insurrectionist, and it's a simple majority vote. So you don't need a supermajority on it. It's not like an impeachment. This is not impossible to get. It was something that came up after the Civil War because there's plenty of Republicans in office still trying to vote for this. So they just made this law that if you're branded an insurrectionist and you created or you were involved in an insurrection act while holding office that you gave an oath to hold, then you can be branded an insurrectionist and barred from ever running for political office again. And so I can almost guarantee that that's going to happen. So I'm just going to say, look for that to happen within the next month, because I think that's definitely happening.
Good for you. And if we're seriously though, if we're gonna throw on our Notre Dame hats right now and make some predictions here, I'm gonna be very optimistic again here, Bobby, and this is gonna be good for you. You've got a vested interest in this one, but I'm also gonna say here, now that we're getting things out of the way, and I'm gonna fast forward to about 10 months to 18 months, somewhere in that range from now.
Christmas time?
Santa Claus is coming.
Is it a green Christmas?
Yes. You know where I'm going here. But seriously, if you think about it, now the busyness with Trump, we tried to get him in trouble again. We made a point that's out of the way. Now we got to deal with the pandemic, hopefully, and again, being very optimistic, let's say summertime, that's mainly out of the way. Let's just scoot that along. Yeah. Kind of bored a little bit here. Decriminalizing marijuana federally. It's going to happen, Bob. That's going to happen. It's going to happen. If it's not under Biden's watch, it'll be under Harris's watch, because I don't know how long he's going to make it.
Well, you're really predicting things out there. You're doing it.
Yes. Well, I mean, hey.
Is that Harris in 2022 or Harris in 2024?
I say 2022, 2023-ish. I don't know.
Okay.
Somewhere in there.
Just trying to say what you're getting at. I'm trying to pull it out of you.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're not going to get it 100%, but I will say somebody in that White House over there, right over there, Bob. Somebody over there is going to really, he's going to squeak the wheels, so to speak.
Well,
We're going to pick up. This is the best thing. It's the best thing from the Obama Biden era that they could resurrect and keep pushing forward. And I'm being quite honest. I'm not being like a stupid stoner about it, but literally everybody's seen the money. It's time for everybody to get rich, as I'm waving my marijuana pin around doing.
And by everyone, we mean like schools and roads and anyone invested.
I mean, and substance abuse, kind of things. I mean, there's a lot that can go on here. I mean, treatments. Yeah, there's so much that could go around.
I see it as kind of two possible scenarios, right? For me, there's two possible scenarios. One is business as usual. Things move forward past this because obviously they are. They're probably going to pass the Reconciliation Act so they don't have to deal with bipartisan, delays for the COVID relief plan, right? Sure. They don't need the Republicans. The Democrats don't need the Republicans to pass it. They can pass most of it. They probably won't end up being able to squeeze in the $15 minimum wage as part of reconciliation because I just don't think they can justify that being part of the budget enough to pass it through reconciliation. But all the other stuff is directly budget related. They absolutely can, and they will. And I'm guessing that happens as early as next week.
Yeah.
And then that'll get done, right? And so shots are going into arms. The president just announced $200 million more vaccines ordered. So that means by the summertime, we're looking at most of the country that wants vaccines has them. Okay, cool. So now that we're done with that and we're getting to our herd immunity point, things are getting better. We're starting to move forward. I bet you anything around late spring to summer, the infrastructure plan goes forward next.
Well, yeah.
Right. Because that's a bipartisan thing. That should be an easy one.
And logically so, Bob, if you think about it, when people start saying, because this is a big ticket item, right? Like infrastructure, a lot of money. And we literally just got out of I don't want to say an artificial kind of like depression, so to speak, but economically we were in dire straits for a while. You can't close down most of the country and a lot of businesses without that happening. But another great way to get more money, marijuana taxes, boom, bam.
Yes.
Nationwide.
And with those infrastructure jobs,
mm-hmm.
a lot more people will be able to have those jobs if they pass a drug test with having weed in their system. I'm just saying.
There's a lot of good, hardworking people that like to go home and toke instead of drink and beat their wife. And now they may be able to, clearly get employment whenever they want, wherever they want. I mean, it's pretty exciting stuff, Bob. So things are looking good. Deal.
So again, I don't know what'll happen with the $15 an hour thing. So if you were really hoping for that, I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. Lobby your local city and state officials. That's going to be where you can find the easiest path to a raise in your minimum wage is going to be at the state and local level. Here in New Mexico specifically, it's been passed. So in Albuquerque, in Santa Fe, I think it's already $15 an hour. I forget what it is in Albuquerque, but it's definitely, I want to say it just got bumped up to 9 on its way to 15 over the next several years. Well, you can't just cold turkey that. Business has got to prepare and kind of lube that expense up. Right? You can't just jam it in there.
Oh, yes, you can.
so it is like that. So again, it's probably more important that's looked at the state level anyway. And we've talked about why. Yeah. So I don't think we need to revisit that, but
no, in fact, if you need to revisit that, Stiffies, you can go back and listen a couple episodes ago. We'd appreciate that. But
the reason was episode 48.
The reason why I laughed at that, Bob, is I'm going to be honest here. I might come off as a dick, but it's the stiff truth. So I just got to do it. If your biggest priority is hoping that other people raise the minimum wage and that's your biggest goal, your priorities are fucked up, homie. Get off your ass and go do something. Quit waiting on the government.
To circle back to something from the Best Of show, if your 5-year plan includes food stamps, you're doing it wrong.
Oh my God, that was good. I don't know how the show slowly turned into talking about marijuana decriminalization, but I'm loving it. I love that you brought back some of the best of 2020 because that was action packed. But with that being said, I think it's time for a cocktail, buddy.
Yeah, let's go make a stiff one.
Oh yeah.
Cheers, Scotty.
Oh, cheers all the way. Cheers to your tits.
Cheers for fears.
Oh, that's a great band.
Cheers for beers.
Recline that thing all the way back. Pour yourself a nice little bottle of bubbly.
Hi, diddly ho there, neighbor.
Hey, no cock meat sandwich snacks.
No.
Come back up the stairs.
What?
Today? Hey, hey, hey.
That's what I got.
Ooh, ground control to Major Tom.
Brady.
Hey, good job, us. We didn't even plan that one. That was good. That was good. So, Bob, tell everybody what we're having today.
We're having a Major Tom, and they are delicious.
This is not good.
It's a variation of the screwdriver, right?
Slightly. Yeah. Again, I was telling you before the show here, or maybe I don't even know if it's going to end up being part of the show when we're talking about that, but I am a huge fan of the citrus-based cocktails, my friend. Pineapple juice, grapefruit juice, orange juice, and goddamn, this one is pretty good. It's better than a screwdriver, though, right? There's that.
Oh yeah. Well, it's got the cherry. I mean,
yeah. So everybody knows this is an ounce of vodka, a half ounce of triple sec, half ounce of cherry brandy, tall glass full of ice, all that together. Fill that bad boy up with your preference, orange juice or grapefruit juice. I'm partial to orange juice myself out of those two. And there it is, dude. Van Dam, thank you, ma'am.
Well, I squeezed a couple of fresh squeezed oranges in there, and then I didn't want to do more, so I just topped it off with Sunny D. So movie magic there.
It's not movie magic if you tell everybody, Bob. No, that's sounds good, man. And it all hits initially like a screwdriver, but what I love about the Harvey Wallbanger and also the Major Tom is as you start to, just past that first taste, the rest of it is very, very full-bodied with a lot of different flavors, man. You've got the triple sec, the brandy in there, just kind of nice little finish. Same thing with the Harvey Wallbanger. Harvey Wallbanger, even more simplistic, but dare I say, probably has the best liqueur in it to top it off with the Galliano, right? So that nice little aftertaste too from the Galliano with the Harvey Wallbanger is just it's fucking phenomenal. I can't.
And just so that in case you didn't notice, that is a plastic cup because it's moving time, baby. It's moving time.
Oh, you packed it stored away the highball glasses.
Yeah, we're down to plastic cups and paper plates. So, and just spend the rest of the day packing and minimizing all week long, minimizing, and then trying to get everything packed. So that the last day, it's very easy.
I like that.
That's the plan.
You're like, it's it's down the plastic cups and paper plates, but I pray every night, me and Jess, that $15 minimum wage is going to get pushed through and our whole lives are going to change. I'm such an asshole.
In fact, I didn't finish my thought on that. Just to circle back real quick.
Go ahead.
I had said that I see two different distinct ways that it could go.
Yeah. Right.
And that was the normal way. If nothing changes, business as usual. Mm-hmm. COVID relief package happens here in the next week or so. Mm-hmm. And then sometime probably around summer, I would guess infrastructure talks start happening to get the infrastructure package. Donald Trump could have got an easy win there, but for some reason they didn't do it, and they had bipartisan support for it. He could have been the man, provided a bunch of jobs. I don't understand why he didn't do it. But so that's going to be a win now for Biden because it's still sitting there with support from both parties wanting bridges to rebuild and interstates to be redone, provide millions of jobs literally on these infrastructure projects. Mm-hmm. Now that's the business as usual way, bipartisan or none support. The other way that it could potentially happen is the Republicans keep filibustering and fucking off, and the Democrats get tired of it and get rid of the filibuster. And then who knows what's going to happen at that point? Because then it's all bets are off. Then who knows? I don't really know. That's the big mystery. Is if Chuck Schumer and Pelosi really just have enough and get rid of the filibuster in the Senate, then it's impossible to know what kind of legislation could really get passed over the next couple of years. Because then I don't know. It's kind of scary, to be honest, about the legislation. The thing that gives me comfort is there's people like Joe Manchin sitting in the way.
And there's people like Rand Paul always sitting in the way of spending money. Like no matter if it's for a good thing, he does not want to spend money. He's the most Jewish Gentile man, I think, in Congress, but we'll just say that. Okay, I'm done. Move on before we
Okay, well, that was just the other path. So if anyone hadn't considered that, I know they've talked about it several times, and it's just like, no, we'll never do that.
Yeah,
they would do that, Scott. And so keep a close eye on the filibuster. And so if no one really quite understands that, just know that if you hear the word filibuster or simple majority in the Senate, pay attention to what's happening, because it could mean drastic changes legislatively for the country.
Talk about a double meaning there. Simple majority of the Senate. I mean, most of them are pretty simple. You know what I mean? Like the majority of them like have a simple mind. So there's that too.
Well, they're smart enough to be senators. I mean, Trump found that being a politician was highly profitable. That's why he doesn't want to go back to like normal real estate. Well, he's just like, I just want to run for office. Why? Because I made like $500 million in the last 4 months.
Well, dude, honestly, same thing with the Clintons, man. The Clintons, like they get paid so much for speeches. Obama's too, man. I mean, that's one of the smart things to do as an ex-president or ex-politician that had a lot of success. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, just keep this train going. Let's have my foundation going. I'm going to go do talks. I'm going to go do speeches everywhere. People are going to give me a shitload of money. It's going to be fun. I'm going to party with Jeffrey Epstein. It's just, I don't know what could go wrong there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Every time an ex-president wants to talk, they get paid Kardashian money.
Yeah.
Same thing. You probably didn't know this, but if Kim Kardashian gives a speech, like a motivational speech or a commencement speech or whatever, it's like $100,000. That's her speaking fee.
Did I hear, because I don't really pay two shits to news about them, but did I hear like that they're going through like a multi-billion-dollar divorce settlement with Kanye West and Kim Kardashian?
Maybe.
Right now?
I mean,
I think I heard
you
that.
never really know. I mean, Kanye's batshit crazy, so who knows?
He supports his boy though, so you know, JT, DJT, baby,
DJT. So that was it. I don't want to like digress our second half of the show back to the first half. I just remembered when I was walking down the stairs that I was like, oh yeah, I didn't remind everyone to keep an eye on the filibuster, because there could be a whole alternate path in the timeline that Doc Brown spoke of. that could happen.
Well, see, and that's what I really love about your progression, Bob. And you don't really talk about it because you're a humble guy. But months ago, going up and down the stairs, the only thing that you could really think about was your breathing and your heart rate.
And eating.
And now that is so much in a better position, your health, that you can actually have deep thought while you're going up and down the stairs. That's a big leap, buddy. Kudos.
And I turned sideways so that my big old feet fit on the steps, and I grabbed the rail. So
careful now. Yeah, careful now. Well, let's move on to this one. This is kind of fun. I'm actually interested to see where it goes and what we put together here, Bob. You know what I mean? There's that.
With our next topic?
That'd be the one. Yeah.
Okay, so me and Scott had an interesting conversation. It's probably 2 weeks ago at this point.
We started it last Thursday, not this Thursday, but the Thursday before that, I believe.
So yeah, it was a couple weeks ago. We had this interesting conversation about like things that the parties could do differently, right? So the Republican Party's kind of having an identity crisis at the moment.
I would say so are the Democrats too. I mean, this one's a little bit more in the it's in the limelight right now, but they're both a little bit strayed from their roots, we could say.
Right. So I mean, you have the progressive wing of the Democratic Party that's really different politically than the moderate Democrats, but the moderate Democrats hold the majority of the party. And then the Republican side, you see a similar thing. The moderate Republicans hold the majority of the party, and then you have kind of the evangelical or the Trump supporters on that farther right side that are also in the party too. They both have a heavy impact on the party, but it's not the mainstream views of the party's platform, right? Mm-hmm. And so then we were thinking about, what could these parties do to get more people, to get more excitement, to help their movement? And it could be looked at both ways. I think specifically we are talking about the Republicans, I think, have the better opportunity to actually reach people.
And I think to lay it out here too, because I think how the conversation started is you had mentioned, I was talking to my wife and I was saying, you know what? I could be a Republican if they didn't have this, and this, I'd be a cookie cutter Republican if they didn't have these key things that are Republican foundational qualities or views. And then we started thinking about the other way around too. And then we started thinking about the Democrats of the older Republicans too. Remember, we had the conversation about the 1980 debate between Bush Sr. and Reagan, right? Just again, what can we take from here, from column A, from column B, and for lack of a better term, right, to, like the Build-A-Bear workshops where you go in there with your kids and you like stuff your own stuffed animal and put them together and everything, like a transformer, so to speak. How can we do that and come out with the best version of a political party for our country? That's, I think, where it was going.
Yeah, and like right away, if I'm the Republicans, I'm just like, all right, if we got rid of the abortion topic and we lost some evangelicals, how many Democrats do we pick up?
Oh yeah. Like how many left of center guys like yourself and so many like you that also are very fiscally responsive, care about having money, investing money. If you got rid of that one, that's really polarizing with a lot of people. If you got rid of that, I think that's the biggest one, dude. I really do. Oh, okay. Excuse me. Almost everything that's purely a faith-based issue, a Christian faith-based issue, abortion and homosexuality, if they dropped the issues on just those two in general, I think they're pulling a lot of left of center people over to the Republican Party, and it's a brand new party.
I do too, and it would be a completely different party. This wouldn't be your grandpappy's GOP, right? This wouldn't even be the GOP. This would be the Republican Party. Right. Yeah. It would be branded different. Get rid of that grand old party legacy bullshit and just say, listen, let's what are the young people in America that are leaning Republican, or that are maybe they want to get into finance and they care more about the economy, and because I'd like to think that Republicans are more economic driven as far as generalities. Than they are with some of the other intricacies of the parties. But so what do you get? Like, what would the calculation look like then? All right. So we lost 20 million evangelical based people instantly. Well, first of all, who are they voting for then?
Yeah. And also I would just chime in here. If somebody told me that and I was in charge of everything, oh, well, that's a shame. Let's move on.
Did anything bad happen today? So give me the bad news now. So say you lose 20 million, really conservative, old-fashioned, faith-based voting folks.
They're not going to go. They're not going to go vote for Bernie. It's not going to happen.
But are you going to pick up 15, 20 million? Mostly Democratic voting people. That was the only hang up that they really had, was that staunch line in the sand that the GOP was drawing with faith. I don't know. It's an interesting political, conundrum. Like, what really would happen there? I would say that you lose a couple of more general elections and get swept like that by the Democrats, it's time to start rethinking.
Yeah, you got to start, rethinking a strategy from square one. And I agree with you here too, because if you think about this, Bob, if you think about, and I'm just kind of just going through all different types of arguments I've heard around social programs, definitely just on the social aspect of things. If you remove the faith-based decision-making from the conservative standpoint, you're not really arguing the same things. You know what I mean? It's really interesting to me. Like everything, the Planned Parenthood, abortion clinics, all kinds of stuff, like gays in the military, you name it. Like you keep going on and on and on about a lot of things that a lot of left of center or more, I wouldn't say more conservative, but I will say more conservative Democrats, they're probably annoyed and almost, because they don't want to go all the way to the socialist wing either. So it's very interesting. But if you literally remove those polarizing ideas that don't really have any validity besides, oh, well, this is the way you should do it because it's a godly thing to do, or it's the morally righteous thing to do. You know what I mean? You move that out of the conversation, all of a sudden, I feel like there's a lot more Republicans that are supporting the same social issues and programs as Democrats. Now, honestly, too, there's going to be a line in the sand eventually with who's going to pay for everything, because that kind of circles back to the conservative wheelhouse a little bit there.
We got an answer for it.
Yeah, we do. Lay it on them.
Well, we get rid of the DEA. we get rid of the ATF. And we just let the FBI and the local municipalities handle the policing, like we've always done it until like 1980, and we take those billions of dollars and we can actually fund some of these social programs. Let's also look into the $1 trillion a year black budget that goes on with our crazy R&D for the military, places like Area 51 and things like that. There's a lot of off book budget stuff that kill our budget. So you can cut the Medicaid all you want, but if you save $200 billion, what's the difference if you've increased your annual black budget for some of the CIA stuff to another $250 billion annual fee? It doesn't do anything. It doesn't even scratch the surface.
But Bob, I really, really like the idea of reversed engineered like spacecrafts and stuff like that. Don't pull the plug on that budget, bro. I mean, there's got to be somewhere else where we can cut the fat a little bit. You know what I mean? Come on, dude. You're kind of like diminishing Elon Musk's goal. I think we can get to Mars the more we pump up that black budget. That's what I'm thinking.
Well,
that's me.
And on the Democratic side, what could the Democrats change to get some Republicans? It's a hard question, isn't it?
It is. No, not really, because if you think about it, I guess it's just kind of the flip side of what people like about Democrats. What I like about liberals and what I dislike usually, and I'm generally speaking. Obviously, there's outliers everywhere. I'll have people pick me apart if I don't say that. If they were just a little bit more fiscally responsible and not just so apt to throw money at every issue, thinking that that's going to solve it and not really having too much of a concern on where that money is actually coming from or who that actually hurts, that could probably get a lot of people over to their side too. But that's really just turning them into more conservatives at the end of the day when it comes to financing. So I don't know, because I think that's the biggest gripe. And if you go back to somebody like JFK, that's an old school Democrat that was also very, very fiscally responsible person. That's so again, what do you call that? Do you call that a classic liberal, or do you just go ahead and say he's kind of like a conservative with liberal social views? I mean,
it's funny that JFK was such a Democrat, right? Him and Joe Biden fall around the same spot in the political spectrum.
And yeah, they're about the same. They're about the same age too.
If you took the religion and the abortion stuff out of the GOP, Joe Biden may be a Republican.
Well, I mean, if you ask Joe Biden, he actually did found the Republican Party, so the Republican and Democratic Party.
So it's an interesting experiment about just kind of what each party could do to reach across, because obviously the politicians are so scared of not winning another re-election because then they have to get real jobs, right?
Yeah.
So they're not going to do anything to do it. So the people, there needs to be a grassroots movement, and the people need to do it ourselves and just be like, fine, this is stupid with this party, this is stupid with that party. Let's focus more on the key items of our platform. What is our platform? And that's the thing. If you ask the Democrats what their main platform is, you're going to get different answers depending on who you ask. And if you ask the GOP, same thing. You're going to get different answers. It's not consistent like that. And then what about something else that seems to be so divisive? And I don't understand why. Because what about like immigration? What would you do for immigration in each party? Because those roles seem to have switched in the last 20 years completely.
Yeah.
Polar opposites. There's a magnetic pole shift of immigration policy since the Clinton administration.
Yeah. Yeah. Because before that, we talked about it. We talked about it numerous times now, but the early 80s Republican Party, very endearing of immigration and
open borders.
Open borders and very, very just very different, refreshingly different. But yeah, no, that's an interesting one right there. And I got to be fair here too. What I said earlier wasn't quite accurate because it was exactly the flip side. It is interesting here as we pick it apart. It's like, well, if they just weren't so then they'd be more like the other party. It's basically like we're meshing the two parties together and dropping the bullshit on both ends of the table, right? So when we were talking earlier, like, oh, if we took the Republicans and they dropped the whole faith-based problems with everything, then you pretty much have a left of center Democrat there. You know what I mean? The same thing as I was saying before about the liberals that didn't spend money and tax everybody to death as well.
What if you banned political parties in America?
I don't think you can do that, Bob.
No PACs, no political parties. You just have to go and have debates off of the person. There is no identifying letter next to their name.
But you can't categorize them right out of the gate. You have to listen to them and you have to do critical thinking. I don't know if I like that, Bob. I don't know.
So what if there was no political parties, and what if there was no lobbying or campaign contributing allowed?
You just got to make it on your own with your own moxie, huh? I like that.
That's some George Washington shit right there. Because
Interesting.
remember, he said we shouldn't have parties. He said the parties will be the death of us, right? We shouldn't have political parties.
Interesting. Well, I guess that would probably make the most sense in general, but you would still, unfortunately, by human nature, you would have people start putting candidates into bins, so to speak, and start separating them and categorizing them.
Parties, like you'd have to go to like Telegram to get encrypted message about your party affiliation, otherwise the FBI would get you.
I can see that happening. If you think about that, though, if there wasn't a D or an R next to somebody's name when they're on the news, you would probably listen to what they're saying with a different lens. That's all I can say.
How about this? And Mike Lentz probably knows what I'm talking about here.
Oh, call him
Mike,
out.
I'll pose the question to you. How many people would be able to tell the difference politically where someone stood if there wasn't a D and an R in front of their name when they answered questions?
Especially talking about certain issues, right? If it wasn't so much of a polarizing issue, it'd be really hard to tell, especially if somebody was actually speaking from their heart and what they really thought too. That would be another eye opener. Now I'm in La La Land. I already know that, right?
We've left America. I don't even know what country we're going to now in our fantasy build a party land, but I don't think it's anything like the USA.
So we've decided to drop all the faith-based policies and laws. We're not going to be like collecting taxes any longer. There's no longer political parties here. So if you make a left here out of the building and you want to get on your unicorn over there, you can ride that over to the Oasis. And I'll tell you what, it's going to be a blast. Join us.
I'll meet you there on my carpet.
Yeah, we're going to have some Major Toms. Let's go.
But it's a Tesla carpet, so it's cool.
Oh my goodness, Bob. Well, it is really interesting, man. And I'll tell you this. I was telling you this. What's really fun for me, and I just think the innocence of a child is really cool. But I had texted you about this, I think, yesterday. I was up pretty early I was trying to catch some of the news by myself before my daughter got up and started watching Pete the Cat or something like that. But she was watching the news with me, and some of the questions that she had were just so funny because if you think about it, if you're not focused in and polarized one way or another about party or this argument, this discrepancy between these people and all that stuff, just some really strange stuff jumps out at you, like why is everything on the news in all capital letters? It was kind of hard for me to answer Elizabeth on that initially. I was like, I don't know. I figure what they're saying is what they feel is very important. So they're, screaming it from the rooftop. I'm not sure why it's always in capital letters, honey. And then something else you asked me, what was it? Can't remember, but it had nothing to do with political parties because she doesn't really make those kind of, doesn't really register with her right now. She was asking about the acquittal and what the acquittal meant. What did she call it first though? Do you remember what I told you she called it? Oh, a pickle. She thought it was a pickle. She's like, what's a pickle? And I was like, what do you mean? Like that? She's like, and then she's looking at the news. I was like, oh, that's acquittal. I was like, well, that means I was talking about what happened to Trump. And if they convict him of this, he can never run for public office again. He can never be president again. And she's like, well, that's mean. I was like, well, it is mean. Yeah, you're right. To basically get somebody in trouble is mean, but he did some kind of mean things, honey. But it's very interesting. There's no lens that she has that puts people in a box. And I think that's really refreshing and eye-opening because then you start questioning stuff that maybe seems a little bit ridiculous, but at least you're not focused on political parties. You know what I'm saying? So there's that.
Until you send her to a liberal manufacturing college.
This is true. Then she comes home wearing an AOC shirt. She's got Bernie 2016, or something like that on
some retro shirt.
Yeah, on the back of her Subaru now or whatever she's cruising, and who knows? But it is interesting. I thought it was really refreshing and very innocent that there was nothing picked out or even recognized by her based off of what we were watching and the affiliation or party or just or any kind of thing like that. It's interesting to me because it's honestly one of the first things I look at when the news is on. When I see who's talking, I look at the bottom to see if there's a D or an R by their name, and that way I can kind of just reframe my ears a little bit and just kind of, it's interesting whether or not it's a good or a bad thing. I know I do it. I know you do it too. I know everybody does it to a certain extent.
Well, the sad thing is like with senators at this point, I pretty much know every senator, so I already know who they are. It's a little bit harder with congressmen and women because there's 435 of them, something like that. So who really knows there? But you're right, and I think that would be great. And what if there was just some like, I don't know if this would be kind of categorized as censorship, but what if there was a mandate that just said you can no longer represent a party's affiliation when interviewing a politician that's elected to public office anymore on television?
I think it'd be great. It's like, hey man, you're going to say some stuff here and you're going to represent yourself and what you stand for. Have at it, bud.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
They just have to represent them as this is a senator, Mike Smith from Iowa. And you're
Mike
he's
Smith?
probably a Republican, but let's hear him out.
See, you're already putting him in that box. You're like, oh, he's from Iowa, he's from Missouri, he's from Alabama. He's, but see, it'd be nice if we couldn't do that. But that's how common and how easy it is to categorize people, right? You can hear a couple of things. So you're like, the senator from West Virginia said this about abortion. You're like, he's Republican. You already know.
Unless
you
he's
already
Asian.
know.
He's
yeah,
not.
No, that's very true.
Wow. Allegedly.
Well,
still up for debate.
Is it bad that I knew I was going to finish my drink very quickly because I love them and just went ahead and grabbed myself a Stella?
No, I caught that already. I made myself a double. So interesting fun fact about me making my drink. So I'm making my drink with careful precision. With
Sunny
black book precision. And I'm measuring all my stuff. And then I make a drink and I look at it and I was like, I can fit a double in there. But the next go around, no precision. I just start pouring. Just hammer it in there. Right. And then just fill it all with orange juice and I'm good. And so that's how it all went. So I don't know exactly the measurements that are in mine. I just know that it's got orange juice in it and triple sec, and it's fantastic.
Good for you. I say kudos, sir, because it was weird. I had this weird kind of, I came back to my desk here. I put my drink down. You weren't quite back yet. And I was like, I know I can fit a double in this. I know I can. And then I was just like, no, I'll just grab a beer. I'll grab a beer and I'll finish out with a beer. Because you know what? I haven't had a Stella in a while.
Well, so I figured it's Valentine's Day. So by the way, this one's for all the lovely couples out there.
Nice.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I like that. That's really good.
And I've got a van with some candy in it.
Oh.
But it's okay because it's like little sweethearts with words on it that say beeline. Hugs and kisses.
Oh my. That sounds nice. It does sound really nice.
I don't know if that was sexy or scary, but there we have it. I've been eating these all day, so that's been good too.
Can I say it was both sexy and scary, and that's what really turned me on?
So I'm like, hold on, I'll be back. Is he gonna go get more strawberries or duct tape? Either way. either way, I'm good.
Maybe he's coming back with both. Shoves a fucking strawberry in your mouth and duct tape.
As long as there's no shovel, I'm okay.
Even the rope is okay right now. Just no tools to break ground quite yet. Well, yeah, it is Valentine's Day, and I think we can make a beautiful transition into our stiff truth topic that has nothing to do with Valentine's Day.
Okay. I'm game. I'm game.
Oh, so Bob and I, we thought we'd discuss something today that I will say this. It was fun research to say the least. It was kind of carefree research too, and it really made me think about, man, there is some dynamic cinematic performances that are loosely or mainly based off of sports. So we're looking here at, man, what are those just badass sports-based movies that you love, you hold dear to your heart, and man, I guess in that weird scenario where an alien comes to Earth and like, dude, I need to see a kick-ass sports movie. What's coming out of your mouth? So that's what we're going to talk about today. Best sports movies. And this could mean a lot of things, guys. Of course, everybody right out of the gate is probably thinking, more the line of like Field of Dreams, Coach Carter, Remember the Titans, Rudy, that kind of stuff. It doesn't need to be gut-wrenching, inspirational, tear-jerking movies either. There's a lot of comedies out there that are also sports-centered too. So this should be fun. But Bob, I'm going to do it. I'm going to let you dive in first because there's so much here.
Oh, don't do it. Don't do it.
I don't think we're going to overlap in any way, shape, or form. And plus, you probably know I have multiple answers over here too, depending on different variables. So what's up, Bobby?
Yeah, and it just kind of depends too. I mean, there's different things depending on what type of movie that you want to watch. I mean, obviously, right up there's the Rocky franchise. I mean, of course, that's just legitimate. If for me, one of my favorite movies is the Brian's Song. So if you don't know Brian's Song, first off, you should watch it. It's really good. But it's about
James Caan, Billy D. Williams, 1974.
Yes, 74. So it's about 74, 71. It's 71.
Okay.
So it's about a couple of professional football players. Gale Sayers, famous, Chicago Bear. The other great back that they've had other than Sweetness. All right. So Gale Sayers was, the Sweetness of the 60s. But it's about him and his backup, Brian Piccolo, and the relationship they form and their families form, and you just got to watch it because I can't tell you, what happens, but it's just one of the most, it's like the guy cry movie, right? It's just a really good movie. And then you have a bunch of, other movies in the top for me. I'm a huge fan of not Friday Night Lights, even though that's a really good one.
Varsity Blues?
No, not Varsity Blues.
Come on, man. James Van Der Beek. Let's get in there. Coming of age movie? Come on. The 90s.
It's the Disney one. Why can't I think of the name? It's because of this drink.
Miracle? Think of that? No. You thinking of Mighty Ducks?
No, definitely not.
Hey, you bite your tongue there, sir.
Remember the Titans.
Remember the Titans.
Remember the Titans is a fantastic football movie. Not all my movies are football. Miracle's also a really good one about the 1980 Olympic squad. Field of Dreams, one of my favorite just general movies of all time. That's probably top 10 of my favorite movies just in general. Field of Dreams is an incredible movie. Rudy, another incredible movie. So some of these movies, they may be sports, but almost every single sports movie is a metaphor for life. It's funny how sports and the thriving or the striving and the competition and trying to be great is such a metaphor for perseverance and endurance and goal achieving in life in general. I think maybe that's why men are drawn towards sports movies and towards war movies is because it's so metaphorical and so relatable to other things in life. So that's kind of the list of some of my favorite movies. And there's probably 50 movies that are great, but that's kind of the top few that come to mind for me.
Good stuff, man. I'm just right out of the gate there. You already said it, but didn't really highlight it too much. But I do think the first Rocky and the Rocky series in general is just dynamite, dude. And just kind of like what you were saying there. I don't know if it's a guy thing or not. I'm sure I know there's plenty of women that love the Rocky series as well. But there's always something so sweet about every film, and it's progression, right? It's the underdog guy needs to be trained. He's wet behind the ears, or he's rough around the edges. He has more drive than anybody out. He puts in more time in the gym. He's training like a motherfucker. He goes to fight or face his biggest adversary. Looks like he's going to just dominate him. Then he's on the ropes. This is like every single Rocky movie, right? Then all of a sudden, of course, the bad guy or the guy that he's facing is about to kick his ass. And then again, just that spirit and that drive and that motivation and that will to fucking succeed and be the champion takes over and he fucking gets it done. Right. I mean, there's something about that kind of storyline, you know what I mean, that just gets people going. It's the ultimate like inspirational determination. Put yourself out there and you're going to do it if you give it 110% kind of shit. But that I love it. And I love the Rocky movies because of that. And we all know number 4 is the best. So I'm just going to say that right now.
Of course it is.
As we all know, my Dolph Lundgren, great friend of the show. He's just the tits. But I'm gonna transition a little bit here. I think, and I watched a bit of it recently, and I've seen it many times. But I think A League of Their Own is one of the hands down best sports films ever. Not only because it was based on a true story, which a lot of these movies are, but I think the story itself, you know, like during the war, women kind of took over to be in professional baseball. It was a laughing stock at first. They only were there for a couple of seasons before the guys came back, and kind of a blip, but very inspirational, very good movie, very great acting. And the real characters in there just really get me personally. And I've always loved that movie because of the story. And honestly, if Tom Hanks doesn't play one of the best, like washed up, has been badass baseball player drunks, you know, in the beginning of the movie, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. But other than that, man, I do think Rudy is another one that really gets you for the inspirational shit. A guy that literally just shouldn't be playing football, but he's got that drive more so than probably anybody else. Gets out there, makes that one play where it really matters. And that's like it for the entire movie. But the work and effort that he put into just getting that moment, and that's all he wanted, is fucking amazing. But then I got to shift gears just a little bit here and say, equally so comedically, I'm a big fan of Major League, and I thought about it really hard. I was like, I got to put it in there. The movie Basketball is honestly another top for me.
That's a great one.
If we're talking like sports themed movie that is fucking hysterical, and honestly, basketball seems like a sport that I can get behind, buddy. And it seems like a sport that you and I could excel at our age right now. I'd be
so good at basketball.
Yeah. Baseball rules and shooting fucking free throws and 3-pointers, dude. And just standing there. No kind of physical.
Don't forget the intimidating.
Oh, dude. The psych outs.
Outs.
Yeah. He's like, hey, I heard your mom was banging Squeak. He's like,
no, it's okay, man. We just got to say totally fucked up shit when they shoot. Oh, okay. Hey, wait. Hey. Why is that? Why is me banging their mom totally fucked up?
I love that. He's like, that's a sweet bed. He's like, yeah, it is. That's Jensen's bed. That's your bed. He's got points to the dog bed. Oh, no, great movie. But there's a lot of notables in there. You're right. I thought about it. I mean, Field of Dreams, great movie. Remember the Titans, Coach Carter. I mean, great movies, dude. But I really think that locks it up for me. The Wrestler, you know, was a really good movie with Mickey Rourke. Pretty sad too. But I don't know, man. I that's kind of where I'm at here. Let's talk about yours for a minute. What do you think is the most comical sports movie out there?
Well, there's a couple that there's sports movies, but Talladega Nights.
This is true.
Great movie. Dodgeball.
It's another great one.
Another great one. And there's also like a couple more that are kind of on the fringe. There's a movie called The GOAT. It's about
Brady.
A basketball player that never made it like to the pro level because of, you know, different things going on in their life. But it's a story about a guy called Earl Manigault, and he was just one of the best street ballers ever, like Michael Jordan-esque, right? This guy was just incredible, but just to do his circumstances in life and just kind of the cards he was dealt, it was just never in the cards for him. But the movie, it's a documentary, so it's a great film. There's another one too, kind of goes along that's just, you know, not so. A little bit of sports, a little bit of that is Basketball Diaries. I mean, it is a sports movie kind of, but it's more about like the cautionary tale
Yeah.
about, you know, how your life can skew out in high school is if you don't like have that support around you to stay focused.
I would definitely say if you watch the first 1/4 of the movie, you could like shut it off and be like, I'll get back to this basketball movie in a little bit. You
Right.
know, but like past that, you're like, oh, okay. So they just all met in high school on the basketball team and then they started sucking dick for Coke. Okay, cool.
Right.
I see how it
Wait,
goes.
wait, they're getting Coke?
Wasn't Marky Mark in that movie too? I thought he was for some reason.
I
thought he was one
can't
of his
remember.
homies. Ah, don't worry about it. Keep going. What were you saying? Basketball.
Well, now I gotta look
Oh,
because
Jesus. Well, can I say this too? Even though
of course
Caddyshack, Happy Gilmore, you know what I mean?
Happy Gilmore, yes, for
Yeah,
sure.
and Caddyshack probably one of the most classic comedic films in modern history too. So there's a lot of things going on there, man. You can't discredit, even though when we initially brought up this conversation, I don't think you and I were thinking comical movies at all. I think we were thinking about those tear-jerking, Brian Song, inspirational, Rudy, Field of Dreams, Remember the Titans, and I think we're gonna kind of lock in and pick between those. But as we did a little bit more research, I was like, wait. And I was starting to watch A League of Their Own the other night with Elizabeth because I thought she would like. I was like, look, it's girls playing baseball. I was like, this is a really fucking great movie, man. You know. And then I was like, well, it's kind of funny and lighthearted. And then I started going down that track a little bit, and then realized, damn, there's a lot of great comedies out there that are sports based too.
Bull Durham,
Mm-hmm,
another great comedy too.
So, anyways, did you already look up the Basketball Diaries?
No, I'm a loser. I can't see it. I just had it too.
Yeah,
I just
don't
had it
worry
on
about
here,
it,
but
man.
now I can't find where I had it, and I don't want to like Google it. I guess whatever.
You're all good, man. It's great. If anybody hasn't seen it, the Basketball Diaries is probably, would you say a top 3 out of DiCaprio movies? I would.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a great movie. It was the first time that like people were like, this kid's a really good actor. Like he's not just a face, right? This kid's a really good actor. And it was right after that movie that he landed Titanic. So Basketball Diaries is probably the movie that jump-started his career and got in the spotlight and got all that success.
And don't worry, I checked it out for you. Mark Wahlberg plays his buddy Mickey in the movie.
Okay.
Yep. So he's definitely in there. Ernie Hudson too, believe it or not, is Reggie. Huh. Well, that's
Okay. And then I can't leave out, if we're talking about basketball movies, it's just like goes without saying that Hoosiers. There's some Gene Hackman.
You know what's interesting? I read some criticism about Hoosiers the other day as I was looking things up. Great movie, but I read something that Spike Lee said about it. Maybe you've heard this, but it's the classic: the white boys come up and overcome against the I can't remember the way he put it because he could get away with it. But basically, it's the white kids coming up and banding together to beat the black kids. Like classic that. But then if you think about it, that's kind of what happened to basketball, from like the 50s to the 70s, as there was a transition of who was allowed to play, who was allowed to be in schools and things like that. And once they open it up, I would say it kind of tipped the scale to even things out. But for a while, I mean, whatever, it is what it is. But when I read that criticism, I was like, interesting how they're going to just brand, Hoosiers as a racist movie now. So there's that. Just had to throw it out there.
But the same can be said if you take it back. I want to say it was in the 60s, early 70s, where Western Kentucky State won the championship, and it was the first all-black team to win in a white-dominated college basketball arena.
Sure.
So you can always look at things from a racial lens. I think that Hoosiers was a little bit different than that. Hoosiers was about when Indiana became an elite basketball program in the country, and it still is a really good historic school. Yeah. Not quite what it was, 20 years ago, but it's still very, very good basketball school. And I think that's more what the story's about, is how that started in Indiana was with Hoosiers. Because I know when I was a kid growing up in the 80s, Indiana was a big deal. Hoosiers was a big deal. So just their basketball team was a powerhouse. It was a big deal.
Dude, I used to live there, and I used to frequent the Basketball Hall of Fame, which is in Newcastle, Indiana. It's fucking awesome, dude. And there's a lot of history there with basketball. Both the Hoosiers and Purdue, the Boilermakers, both used to be very, very marquee teams back in the day too, when I was a kid. So same difference, man. I agree, 100%. But fun. That was some fun research. I'm planning on doing a bit more.
I'm telling you, watch the 2001 Brian Song with Mekhi Phifer. And it's not that the original one's not good, and it's not that Billy D. Williams and James Caan aren't very good, and they are. It's just that at that age, they weren't so much, and the quality of acting over the last 30 years after that movie was made, by the time the next one was made, is just greatly improved. So just the
quality of filmmaking in general.
Yeah,
not just the acting. Sure.
The cinematic views, just the production value, the acting, everything's better, even though I'm probably being blasphemous by saying I like the 2001 one a little bit better because it's a little bit more relatable and modern. But there's still a place to watch the old one. I watched the old one just a couple days ago.
Yeah. Well,
so that's just me. Guess I'm not an originalist. If I was a Supreme Court justice, I wouldn't get nominated.
You're not a very good hipster either.
I'm not.
What I mean? So
I'm not.
Shame on you, Bob. Shame on you.
This is as big as my beard gets.
Yeah, that's not going to work for your hipster card.
I know, and I bathe like at least a few times a week.
Yeah,
that's just not going to do it.
And that's irresponsible too for the environment. You're wasting a lot of water. You know what I mean? So you got some things you got to improve, Bob.
I'm a husky fella. I will get pungent quickly.
So I gotta get in those crevices, man. I gotta get those.
I gotta get my rag on a stick to those places I can't reach.
Well, Bobby, hey, I think we're about out of time, man. Unless you wanted to continue the conversation about anything else. I mean, you let me know. You're driving the ship here. I'm just the timekeeper. You know what I mean?
I always want to continue the conversation. But there's always next week. I do want to give everyone a heads up. We won't be having a show next Sunday. I am moving. So we're
Mike
closing
Lenz, we apologize about that. We'll catch you the week after.
And really, to all of our stiffies, especially you, our stiffy in France.
We love you.
So I am closing on Thursday, and I'll be moving for the next several days after that, and it's just going to be really busy. So I thought it just best to not try to squeeze in a show and production and all that stuff. So we'll take a week off, and we'll be back on the 28th, the 1st, something like that.
Something like that.
The 28th, I think it is.
We'll see you guys in a couple weeks. So, I mean, that's long story short here. But while everybody is deeply missing Bob, there's plenty of things you guys can go back and listen to. If you haven't already, you could go and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're feeling fucking squirrely, or if maybe you just want to get off your fucking ass. I don't know, but there's plenty of things that you could be doing in the interim. And then we'll be back, not next week, guys, not next week, but the week after next. That's when we'll be back. Right, buddy?
Yeah, or you could hit us up and ask to be part of the Stiff Truth Facebook page.
Yeah.
We definitely could use more contributors.
Yeah.
More moderators.
Yeah.
So I'm down for that. So other than that, the same thing, like and subscribe. It's always a pleasure. I've got a great idea for the next show. I will talk to you about it after here, Scott, but it's going to be great.
Don't you fucking lose it. Write it down right now. Put it on the notes.
It's Steel Trap.
All right. Well, if that is not a cliffhanger dangling carrot for everybody to tune in next time. But guys, we love you. Enjoy your Valentine's Day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you again soon.
See ya.